I start by briefly introducing myself to you. And I worked for 16 odd years in alcoholic beverage industry. So I want to give you a visual profile of what I've done, which will give you a perspective why I stand in front of you. So this is not the right time, but I'm sure with some of the brands that I have had the privilege of crafting, which entertain you, I hope, and millions of people around the country. So here's the first brand. You may have heard of Signature, McDowell's Signature. Way back in 1999 and 1991, I had the privilege of being associated with the brand, and the name that you see there, McDowell's Signature, was given by me. Today, thank you so much. So today, whenever we stay very close to Mahalakshmi Racecourse, and McDowell Derby is held there. So when we go for an evening walk with my wife and McDowell Derby is there, she goes around the park walking, and I just look at this brand name and I say, I did it. Now, why am I saying that? When you create work which transcends decades, you get happiness twice. The year you create it, and every year after that when you see it in public platform. The second is a team which you would be familiar with, RCB. Now, this is what I contributed to RCB. Now, in the year 2000, just as the century started, I was given the job of revitalizing the brand Royal Challenge. It was already a well-known brand. Now, one of the things, you may have heard Dr. Malia's podcast, right? Everyone has seen it. So you would have seen that it's a media dark environment and so on and so forth. So the challenge was, what can we do with the packaging so that if at all Royal Challenge, RC, ever hosted an event, we just take out one part of that pack, put it on that event, and it becomes an RC event. So you see that pack there, and there's that red thing which we call it the hot zone, where it says RC. So what we did was, on this pack we put this hot zone called RC, with a firm belief that whenever in the future, this was done in the year 2000, whenever an event is hosted by RC, you take this thing and you put it on the jersey, on the cap, and it becomes an RC event. So when you would have heard Dr. Malia's thing about RCB and the pride that he has in this team and the pride that I have. So whenever I watch IPL, I don't see the cricket match, I just see my logo and I say, hey man, I did it, I did it. No one knows it, but I know I did it. Now, the third brand that I wish to share with you is, before I say that, I'm just going to say 3 words. And if you people can actually say the rest of it, then I certainly deserve to stand in front of you. And those 3 words in Hindi are, Khoob Jamega Rang. Right? Now, this was done 4 decades back, right? This was done 4 decades back. It's still, for the last 25 years, the advertisement has not even come there. But the fact is that you remember it, right? And this is what happens when you create, a cult brand like this, Khoob Jamega Rang. And just to say, I've stayed in Dubai for some time, and on Pakistan channel also, I have heard reference to this brand, which says, Khoob Jamega Rang, jab mil baithenge teen Lahori, right? So this is one brand, and what I want you to remember here is not just that these are brands, but if you look down below in Hindi, in the local language, it says, Bharat ka sabse zyada bikne wala whiskey, ab duniya ka number 13, right? Now, why did we put it? Way back in 1992, I had a dream. The dream was to make Bagpiper the world's largest brand of blended Scotch whiskey in the world. This was in 1992. And to make sure that everybody works to achieving that, there is a concept called social shame. What is social shame? If you have a dream, put that dream out in public domain. Put that dream. And then there will be social pressure on you to go and achieve it. So what we did was, we got all our sales team and we says, yaar, Bagpiper ko दुनिया का largest बनाना है, अब ये poster पे हम लोग डाल रहे हैं. And then what happened? Next year, so this is an authentic data, right? Otherwise the competitors would have told you, yaar, ye kya likh rahe ho? And next year, this is called Impact International. Now next year, if from 13 we became 15, we would have put 15. And then what would the retail salesman and rest of the world mock us and say, जा रहे थे तुम लोग हिमालय क्लाइम करने, तुमका रिवर्स में गाड़ी जा रही है. To avoid that social shame, we all worked extra hard to make this come true. What is the lesson for you? The lesson for you is in 1992, when India had just liberalized, we had a world-class dream. Today you work in an environment, and do you have a world-class dream, or do you just have an India dream? यार मेरे को इंडिया में सबसे बड़ा बनना है. What I urge you to do, and this is something that you have to go back with your hand on your heart, ki now you will not just look upon India as your destination, you got to look upon the world as your destination. The world is waiting, and please go ahead and have a dream to make an impact there. Then comes, I was the first person in the year 1991 to launch the first premix gin. After that came Bacardi Breezer and so on and so forth. What is the lesson for you? We spoke about innovation, and I think Mr. Ganesh was asked this question about innovation and budget, and you saw the figure he gave, 0.67. The question is, it's not that we are bad. The question is, we just don't make an effort to be unique. And I want you to look at me, look at my height, look at my voice. You know, जब मैं कभी कभी बात करता हूँ Uber driver से, they think I'm a woman who's talking, and they say, madam. That's how weak my voice is. Now, if a person like me can have a world-class dream and create these products, then what is stopping you people? And that is the message that you need to take with you. Then comes a thing I think is there now in most of your household, which is Tata Salt. So I don't know if you remember Captain Cook salt. Again, we created a word that has now become in popular parlance. Free flow. This was the only brand, and you can please challenge me if you believe that I am actually not stating the truth. I am saying this was the only brand that came close to shaking Desh ka namak. Should I prove it, or you believe that? Now, what did we do? And this is where you have to use intelligence. You don't need tons of money, you just need to be creative. So we came out with this concept called free flow salt. What did we do to make it into your popular vocabulary? Whenever cricket was played, and that time it was Mr. Sunil Gavaskar, so the cricket commentator would say, what a great square cut, what a great swing by Kapil Dev. So we went and told the commentators, from now on you will not say what a great, what a brilliant, you will say what a free flowing stroke he has played. Today, this is started in mid-90s. Today in IPL, without we having to prompt them, Ravi Shastri says, what a free-flowing shot Virat has played. And because we embedded it in cricket, it's become a part of your life. And not just popular parlance, even scientists use what a free-flowing discussion we are having. Now, this is the impact that you can have if you can intelligently think of how can you make it into a cult-like status. So I'm just taking free flow. But there are so many ideas that you have which you can embed into the country and change the profile of your ideas. And then how many of you use deodorant, please? How many of you use deodorant? Can I just say with my hand on my heart, I'm the person who created the deodorant category in this country. In the year 2002, I was invited by J.K. Helen Curtis to be the president, invited to be the president of the company. It was in Thane, J.K. Graham. The size of deodorant industry in the year 2002 was less than 100 crores. It was 66 crore. Today, it is 10,000 crore and one of the most profitable categories that you have in any company's portfolio. What is the contribution I did? I came out with a simple concept based on data, and that concept was, I will not sell deo, I'll sell perfume. No to deo, yes to perfume. And today, there is no deodorant in this country, including the elephant, they can sell unless they say perfume. That one simple idea, no to deo, yes to perfume, changed from 66 crore to 10,000, and it is showing no sign of stopping. What is the idea here for you? It's not about deodorant. It is about how you gain consumer insight in your business. and make and give it exponential growth. And it is at this point in time that I departed from my corporate life to actually give back. I had good education, I got educated in IIT and I did my MBA from IIM and so on and so forth, did these things, turned around companies, and then I decided to get into teaching. And I taught for 7 years in IIM Indore. And again, I want to say this, you know, what Ganesh was saying, it's very easy for us to blame everybody else. But what have we done to actually re-energize anything that is given in our hand? So I'll state fact as data. When I joined IIM as an adjunct faculty in brand management second year elective course, 40 people signed up for a brand management. In 2 years, 210 people signed up. What is the perspective? The perspective is not that I'm brilliant. What I did was a very simple thing, and that is what I would request you to do, is to take this idea and intelligently adapt it to your industry. In 2008, you know the IIM system, they have a curriculum. Every session you have to take a case study. So the case study at that time when I got brand management course was about General Motors, you know, those companies which were not the hottest companies. So I told the director, Professor Ravi Chandran, that Ravi, students aren't interested in knowing about General Motors and these companies. So he says, what are they interested in? The year is 2008. I said, they are interested in knowing about Tesla. They are interested in knowing about Starbucks, about Facebook, about Twitter. He says, but we don't have case studies. I said, that's not the problem. You're identifying the problem. The solution is that we should do these case studies. So he says, but how will you do it? I said, I will create the case study and teach them. I did. And that's why it went up from 40 to 210. What's the lesson for you? Lesson for you is, are you manufacturing those things where the value was, or are you giving the customers what they want? And the answer resides in your heart. And then I did a training program for Siemens. For anyone from Siemens here? They have a program called CORE. I did before COVID for 4 years for them. Then for Mercedes-Benz, this is on digital transformation and innovation. And then I get invited to speak at various forums. This is a CII event. And then I am a published author. I've written these 2 books. They are both national bestsellers. And just to tell you, in India, less than 0.4% of business books become bestsellers. Mine, both books have become bestsellers. So the question that you need to put across is, if a guy standing here has put these data points, right, facts, तो यार अगर ये बंदा कर सकता है तो हम लोग क्यों नहीं कर सकते हैं? When you have 0.4% probability, and my third book too will be a bestseller, right? That is the confidence you need to have. And ladies and gentlemen, with this, and I'm a TED speaker as well, so with this was my brief introduction. That is the reason why I stand in front of you, and let's get into the concepts. So I am going to share with you some visuals, and I'm going to ask you what you make out of it, right? So this is the first visual. Take a good look at him, right? You know who he is, right? Second, you know who she is? Should I share with you who she is? She is the CEO of General Motors as we sit and talk. And she's been there for the last decade. CEO, she's an engineer, she's a CEO. You know the previous one? You know him? That's Tim Cook. That's Mary from General Motors. You know who he is? I'm sure everyone knows him because we envy him. We wish we were like him. NVIDIA's CEO. You know who he is? He's changed retailing in the world. You know who he is? He's enriched our life beyond imagination. And of course, you know him, right? He's a person who's done things which has made our country proud. And then of course, the reason why I kept him last is because of all the distraction that he has got into, but he's probably the finest person living on this planet today. I believe that. Now the question I want to ask you is, these are the pictures of the people you saw. What do you make of it? How do these pictures relate to you? How do these pictures relate to you? Sorry, sir? They are normal human beings, of course, all of them are. And just to tell you, not one is born into a billionaire's family. All of them have become billionaires and they change our lives. They are ordinary people like me and you. That's the first lesson. If they can, we can. What else? Dreaming big. Very nice. All of them, including Mr. Mukesh Ambani. You know how if there are people from Reliance here, they will tell you that he does not think big, he does not think bigger, he thinks the biggest, right? What else touches your life and their life? They had a vision, and therefore I was saying you too should have a vision, and all of them have played on the world stage, not in their country. What else? They come out of their own self-limitation. You know Steve Jobs' background, you know that NVIDIA's person, he used to wash dishes, he used to wash dishes, right? That's the kind of problem they came out with. But I think the bigger point that I wanted to share with you, and please listen to this. Each one of these people are engineers. They're all from manufacturing backgrounds. None, without exception, is not from manufacturing. All of them are from manufacturing background. And see what these people have done. They have gone ahead and changed the world for the better. Do you see the thing? And you please think, and you can use AI right now to tell me if there are better set of people who have changed our life than these people. You will never find anyone more qualified who has impacted the world. What is the lesson for you? Sitting in this room are people from manufacturing. These are the role models who have risen from manufacturing and changed the world. I cannot find, you will say, okay, financial innovation has happened, but finance does not create value. You appreciate that? They may create valuation. They don't create value, but manufacturing people create value. What is the lesson I want you to take away? That each one of you are in their image. And what you have to do is take a dream that in 10 years, your picture will be with them. Is it different? No, they come from ordinary backgrounds. What was it? Sir, you said they had a vision of thinking big. Somebody said they got out of their limitation, and this is what you people have to do, and that is why I've got these pictures here. And what I intend to do today, and with each one of them, I will tell you, these people became what they became because of a concept called mental models of thinking. I'm going to share with you mental models that these people have used, and at the end of it, I will keep coming back and telling you this is the gentleman whose mental model, right? And what you have to do is my request, please note these mental models down. It can change your world. So can I just start? Now I am going to apply it to myself because I don't want you to think, yeah, yes, Elon Musk is there, so only Elon Musk can apply to SpaceX. The problem is you can apply these mental models not only to your place of work, which I did, but also in your family. All the things that I'm sharing with you, you have to learn, internalize, start using it at work and also at home. So can I just start off by the first brand, right? And I'll tell you what happened. So I'm going to share with you mental models which these people who are from manufacturing have used to change the world. And each one of you, please note these mental models down. I can assure you they will make a difference to your world. And please go and share it with your family. The first mental model I want to share with you is this. So I used to handle Bragg Piper. When I was the product manager, it became India's first 1 million case brand, then India's largest, and then finally the world's largest. Now what was the thing I want to point out? And please listen to this story. When I was at the marketing head position, my product manager came and said, sir, I've got good news for you. We used to sell millions and millions of these bottles, millions, and they came with a mono carton. So this guy, my product manager, comes and says, sir, you will not believe it. I negotiated with a mono carton supplier and I've reduced the price by 30%. And you know what the cost saving will be? And he gave me a figure that ran into hundreds of crores. Now, if you were in my position, a person comes to you at your job and says, sir, I have renegotiated the whole thing and the company will gain crores and crores out of it. What would be your reaction? So, what would be your reaction? Wow. Can I tell you what my reaction was? I says, listen yaar, you saved crores and crores, but I want to ask you a very simple question. And that question was, this is a whiskey which is a mass product, right? It is used by masses. If it is used by masses, then as soon as they buy the bottle, the first thing they do is they throw away the carton. They throw away the carton. Carton is of no use to them. It is only in our mind कि यार वो डब्बा चाहिए. So I am asking my product manager, then did you waste your time in optimizing a process that should not have existed in the first place? अरे वो डब्बा चाहिए ही नहीं. Then why did you waste your time optimizing a process which should not have existed in the first place? So what we did was, we decartonized it and we removed the monocarton. Now what did my product manager do? He invested his time in optimizing a process which should not have existed. Can you come back to your corporate world and world of manufacturing? You may do everything, right, to make your process more efficient, more effective. But have you ever asked yourself, is this process required? And you know whose strategy is this? It's not my strategy. Anyone who follows Elon Musk, he will tell you that the reason why he built Gigafactory was based on this simple process. Is this process required? Are you with me? Are we trying to optimize a process which should not have existed in the first place and wasting our time and money, first having it and second optimizing it? So we are getting hit on both sides. And this is not my concept, this is the Elon Musk concept. Can we move to the second point? This is one of the world's most valuable company. When the person who founded this company realized that he will be leaving the world soon, he decided to set up a university within the company. The university's job was basically to capture his thinking and that company's thinking and put it into the university, so that any new person who joins after the person has departed for the other world, they could actually understand his way of thinking and that company's way of doing things. I had the privilege of attending that university, and I am sharing with you the first slide that is shown to a new joinee of that company. The company's name is not important. Now this is the first slide that is shown if you join the world's, it is the world's most valuable company. The name is not important because we will get distracted by the name. If you join the world's most valuable company, you will not get sucked in, start manufacturing, go and see what Foxconn is doing. You will be put through this for 6 months. The first slide they will show you this, and let me just give you a background, and this is the preamble they gave. This, you know Picasso? Picasso was from Spain. Picasso loved bulls. So what he has done is he has taken a bull, right? These are all pictures of Picasso, the bull. His signature is right there at the end. This picture is shown to the people who have joined this world's most valuable company, and it's a tech company which has enriched our life, and people are asked. So I am the faculty here, you've joined this company, and I'm asking you this question. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Picasso bull. This is popularly called the Picasso bull. What do you make out of it? Please study this picture, do what you want. Please tell me, what do you see? What is your decoding of this picture? Sorry? Getting stronger. Okay. But how do you see getting stronger? Are you reading from right to left or left to right? Right to left, yes. But I think most people read left to right. Right? So it's the opposite of what you said. Yes, sir. Becoming leader, but how does it give you an idea as becoming a leader? Okay, you are becoming leaner. So why do you want to become leaner? Don't talk of lean manufacturing. The idea is not lean manufacturing here. It's not Toyota, right? It's not Toyota. So don't talk of lean manufacturing. Anybody else? Continuous improvement. No, 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 no. That is, this is not an IIM class and you will not get marks for class participation, right? So you have to say what you feel, right? There's no marks here. Anyone else? Yeah, just one sec, sir. All are bulls. Of course, they are all bulls. It is Picasso who is drawing it. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, just one sec. Before you come, because I think you got something there. Sir, somebody said something. I said I'll come to you. Yes, sir. Oh, no, no, no. It is building of powerful ideas. Yes. So please look at this and I'll just come to it, sir. Point well taken. From the data, you can infer this. And therefore, I want you to listen to this. Data can be tortured to confess anything. And you have tortured this visual to confess what you want. Right? Sorry? Yes, very good. Very good. So can I, and one more person said something else. Bare minimum, right? Bare minimum removal. So ladies and gentlemen, please look here. This is one of the essence of problem solving, right? This is the essence of problem solving. So what happens is, when you move from left to right, what Picasso has done is, he's taken the bull, which is this heavy thing. And what he has done is, he's taken this bull and progressively removed all the noise, and I'm talking in problem solving terms. You have a big problem, there's a lot of noise that surrounds it. So what he's done is, he's taken the bull, progressively removed all the fat. He's removed all the fat till he has come to this structure. And what is this structure? In 5 lines, you've got the essence of what a bull is. So what he has tried to do, if you take a bull like this, it's very fat, you can't put your arms around it, but if you remove all the noise, all the fat, all the unnecessary part, the essence of bull is this. If you remove any more lines from it, the bull will fall. What is the sense of this? The sense of this is very, very important. When you are faced with the problem comes like this, a big fat problem with all the noise. And what most of us do is, we try to solve the problem without removing the noise, and therefore most often we address the noise, which means what? In business terms, most often what we do is, we actually address the symptom and not the disease. So what is told here is, when you get a problem, peel away all the noise till you come to the signal or till you come to the essence of the problem. And once you have come to the essence of the problem, then what you have to do is, start building it up from there. So if you see here, these are the 2 remotes. The company on the left, right, is the one who has removed all the noise and given you a aesthetically simple product to use. Whereas the remote that you see onto the left side, it's like, you remember in Ramayana there is a story कि हनुमान जी को बोला आप वो जड़ी बूटी लेके आओ, वो पूरा पहाड़ लेके आ गए. Now, and I think most of us stay in hotels. When we go and stay in a hotel, the remote that is given to us is the black remote. I tell you, every time I'm challenged to figure out, यार उसको TV को start कैसे करना है. Correct? Is that true or not? And what this company has done, it's very simple. What it has done is, it has asked, what do you do? This is an old remote. Stop, play, forward, back. That's all that we require, and they put it there. So what is the entire essence that I wish to share with you is very simple. What you have to remember is, whenever faced with a problem comes like a Picasso bull, you can't put your arms around it, remove all the noise and just extract the signal. Once you extract the signal, then 2 things happen. Based on the signal, you can come out with an insight about your business or about how to solve the problem. So have you got this particular point? So the first question when you come there is, the first thing that we did is, are you trying to optimize a process that should not have existed? Please answer on the poll yes or no, or maybe it's a scale of 1 to 5. See, no one is going to know the answer, but at least we will come to know what is happening in our world. So it's all confidential, no one will know what you did. So the first question is, did you optimize the process that should not have existed? Second, When faced with a problem, do you start attacking it immediately, or do you first remove all the noise, come to the essence of the problem, essence of the disease, then treat the disease? So do you treat the symptom or do you treat the disease? That's the second question. The third thing that I wish to share with you is this. All of you are from manufacturing, and I think there is a pressure on all of you to save time and save cost. Ladies and gentlemen, the question before you is, आप लोग क्या करते हो? This is a universal requirement, yaar. Please save time, please save money. What is the strategy that you follow to save time and save money? All of you are faced with this problem every single day. You take decision to save money and save cost. What is your strategy? Removing the fat. But can you just, so please remember, I just want to share this with you. In everything that we do, there should be a framework. Because if we have a framework, then we can actually scale up that thought. But if you just say remove the fat, it's not a framework, it is just a statement. So what is the strategy that you use, or what framework, please? Remove non-value added activity 100%. So can I, is there one more answer, please? Remove all non-value added activity, which means in the Picasso bull concept, remove all the fat, right? Any other perspective? I'm sorry, sir? Prioritize. Fine. So we will come to important and urgent in just a while towards the end of this thing. That's urgent and important. Do it first time right. Can you tell me the right word for it? Perfect. I mean, I'll just put it like this: quality control. Tomorrow we'll have a gentleman here who's a former Tata Motors vice chairman. He will be talking about it. He was one of the person who put quality at the center of product, believing that each time you have a quality complaint, look at the cost involved in rectifying it, right? So instead of the term that you used, what is the term you use, sir? Do it right first time. We'll talk about quality, right? So can I just, because of time, can I just say one thing? And I'm just putting this as a strategy. If you want to save time and you want to save money, then there is one simple thing which is called simplify, simplify, simplify. Simplify means reduce complexity. So tomorrow the gentleman who will come, who was a person, and there are people here from Tata Motors, right? So you know about Nano. Nano is a classical example of creating a car in 1 lakh. And one of the strategies that was followed by the person and his team to create that car in 1 lakh was simple, is to reduce complexity. The moment you reduce complexity, you are reducing cost. Have you got this? Now what is the question that you have to ask yourself is a very simple one. When you say reduce complexity and simplify, I want you to remember this once and for all. What is simplicity? The ability to simplify complex ideas without losing their essence demands mastery. It's not a simple thing. So people who created Nano, they were masters in automobile. You cannot simplify unless you have mastery over that product or that process. Second, as Einstein put it very well, if you can't explain it simply, and he mentioned if you can't explain your idea to your 8-year-old niece, you haven't understood the idea. And the third thing which is very important is simplicity isn't about dumbing down, it's about distilling. You remember the Picasso bull? It's about distilling the core issue and then working on it. So can I just ask you a simple question? The simple question is, when you look at a process, have you ever asked yourself a question? Is it the simplest possible process that we have? Have I reduced complexity? Or like me, during the earlier part of my career, we just kept on following the tradition and the norms. Yaar, is tarah hota hai, let's continue. So can I now ask you, when you go back to your company, that look at every single process and ask yourself a simple question. Is it simplified? Can I reduce the complexity in it? And the moment you are able to reduce the complexity, the first benefit you will get is cost. So this is the second thing that I want you to put on this. Have you simplified your process? Have you reduced complexity? And the answer resides with you. And if not, from tomorrow, please start this process of looking at systems, seeing whether it is simplified, how can I reduce complexity, right. This we will talk in terms of nano in just a little while. Then comes this small thing. So, I am just going to explain this. For people who know the answer, I would just request you to raise your hand, and for rest of you, here is the question. During World War II, when the Allied forces were fighting, right, against the Germans, they would send their aircraft, and what they realized is that the number of aircraft that were shot down by the Germans were a large number, and they were very, very concerned about it. And what was the concern? How do I reduce the number of aircraft that were getting shot down? That time, this is around 1940s, data scientists had just come into vogue. So, the data scientists were drawn in and said, yeah, please help us analyze the problem. So, the data scientists said, let us get all the aircraft that went on a sortie who came back, let us see and study them. So, all the aircraft that went over Germany and they came back to the base, they were studied, and the study was, they noticed a pattern, that if the aircrafts came, they noticed that these were the marks of bullet, these were the places where the bullets were hit. Let us say 100 aircrafts, 100 sorties were done, they came back, and when they did a data analysis, the point that you see is where it had a bullet mark, right. The question is, if you were a data scientist, what would you do? So, for people who do not know this, the answer, the question to them is, if you were a data scientist and you knew all these 100 sorties have come back, this is where the bullet marks are, and my aircraft is getting shot, many are not returning, what would you do? Yes, sir. Reduce the, sorry, say that again.
Surface area.
What should we do? We should strengthen those surface. So, one of our friend is saying where the bullet mark is, strengthen that part. Yes. Strengthen the remaining part. And sir, can you just add to it? That is the correct answer, but can you add to it for everybody's benefit, or should I say it on your behalf? So, let me just say it on our friend's behalf. One of our friend who said is, after they collected the data, what was said is, let's strengthen the parts where the bullet have been hit. But before they could, and everybody bought into it, but before they could strengthen that part, a maverick data scientist came and said, hold on, I have a contra view. And what was the contra view? What happened to those aircraft that never came back? And then he said, because these aircrafts have come back, which means they got hit and they have come back, which means these parts where the bullets have hit the aircraft, those are strong enough to take the bullet hits. And all the other parts which do not have any bullet marks are the weak areas, so we should strengthen them. What is the lesson for you? Many of us today, given internet, IoT, we are creating data not by truckload, shipload, I do not know what loads. Most of us are now having a course which is called data driven management decision. And the question that I want to share with you is, if you look at this, if you have taken a data driven decision making, you would probably have never solved the problem. What is the question that you have to look at? You have to look at data which is not present or which is not readily available. You have to ask for those data which is not obvious to you. Are you with me? There are many times your peers, your subordinates will come, sir, ye data hai, is pe decision low. And don't take a very obvious decision. Ask for data which he may not have got, or which he may have deliberately hidden, or which he may not even be aware is required. Your job as a senior manager is to make sure that every single data point which is available to you and not available to you is made available to you before you make a decision. Because like I mentioned and we saw here, data can be tortured to confess anything, right? So, this is the next fourth thing that I wish to share with you. And for Tata Motors, who are the people from Tata Motors here? Okay. So, for two of our members from Tata Motors, and this is actually straight from the team that created Tata Nano, right? And I just want to, and I'm going to share with you the strategy that they use. So I'm going to share their strategy, it's not my strategy. I want to ask you a very simple question. If your boss went and announced that we will make a car available in 1 lakh, the boss has already announced. Now you have to make it. You are the team, right? And let's assume you are the Tata Motors team, you have to make it. Can I just give you some other viewpoints of experts from automobile industry? What did they have to say when they heard this announcement? Mr. Rahul Bajaj, he mentioned that given my expertise, it's not possible to make a car in 1 lakh. Even other automobile manufacturers, I don't want to take the name, have gone on record to say it's not possible, नहीं हो सकता यार, उसमें 3 wheeler बन सकती है या auto on 4 wheels बन सकता है. But Tata Nano was launched. What is the strategy that they used, which is a universal strategy which you can use to solve any problem? They looked upon it as a problem solution, as a problem to be solved. What is the strategy? Anyone is aware? Can I share that with you? And please note this down, and you can solve your home problem. If you have a problem, कि my son is not studying, क्या करना है? That's a problem, right? My son is not listening to me, my daughter is not listening to me, वो problem है. How to solve that? कार को 1 लाख में बनाना है, कैसे solve करना है? घर खरीदना है, I don't know how to do it. Whichever problem you have in the world, whether it's your personal problem or your business problem, you can solve it. And the strategy that they have come out with is called look outside in. So can I just share with you what this strategy is? The strategy of look outside in is, what you do is, you put what is the problem that you have right on front. उसको नीचे मत डालो, आप उसको up front straight डाल दो at the top level. What is the thing? At a consumer price of 1 lakh, I have to make a car. That's simple. Now look at those things which are not in your control. What are those things which are not in your control? Excise duty, cess, whatever it is. I've not put the appropriate thing, but I'm saying there are some taxes which you just cannot but have to pay. So what you do is, let's assume it is 30%. So from 1 lakh, you reduced it. Now you got 70,000 in which to play with. Profit, just keep it aside. Now what did the team do? They already had an idea. They already had an idea of passenger car. They were making passenger cars. So what they did was, they put all the components of a car, engine, steel required, 4 tires, windshield, whatever are the elements, big components, they put one after the other. After putting it from a normal car, what did they do? If that cost of that car is 100, then they apportioned it to engine. Engine is say 25%. Steel required is 13%. Tire is 1%, whatever is the cost. So now what they did was, they got all the parts of the car, they knew what the cost was, and they assigned a percentage to it. From, if 100 being the cost, what is the cost of engine? Say 25% or whatever it is. Now what they did was, they took the 70,000 rupees, and let's say if the engine was 25%, then they allocated 25% of 70,000 to engines. Now this is the cost. If I can get my engine done, then I'm through. They took, let's say, tires, say 0.3%. 0.3% of 70,000, whatever is the cost. Now they knew that I have to get my 4 tires and this. So for each and every component which go to make a car, now they had a cost to aim for. And once they had a cost to aim for, then what did they do? They got their vendors, they got people across the country, everyone to see now how can we make that engine and that cost. Are you with me? Have you got this idea? Right? So please look, this strategy is called look outside in. First face the problem, then break it down into various components, and take those components, you will get a thing, and then work towards achieving it. And that is how in some part Nano was able to come good on the promise that was made by late Mr. Ratan Tata. Why am I sharing this with you is, this is a problem solving technique. You can solve personal problem, you can solve any problem using this technique. Now here, you remember we talked about simplification, simplify. So nano got developed, but what one of the things that they did to reduce cost was reduce complexity in the car. They reduced complexity. And how did they do that? First they stripped the car down to the very basics. So they did not give you any luxury things, just the basics of the car they kept in the car. Second, they came out with a frame, the total frame and the engine which was less in weight. The moment it was less in weight, it was less in cost. And then they used manufacturing using cost saving methods like fewer products and local vendors. So you got these two perspectives which they merged together and a few other things to create an impossible car at the price that was already pre-committed to the market. Let's move to the next part. Many of you are aware of Arvind Eye Care. Tell me, Arvind Eye Care says, I provide the best eye care at the lowest cost. The best eye care at the lowest cost. What is the strategy that they have used? Scaling up they did, but what was the insight that led them to scale up? They can only scale up provided they become the low cost producer. What strategy did they apply? Where did they get that idea from? Assembly line, of course, but assembly line from where? Assembly line was not where he got the idea from, but very close. Yes, it was very close to it, but somebody said McDonald. Who was the gentleman who said McDonald? So the idea to the gentleman who set up Arvind Eye Care, the idea came from McDonald, from hamburgers. What he said was, McDonald is able to make consistent, and please remember eye care means consistent quality of care. Not one person or one eyesight has to go wrong. And what he noticed is McDonald were flipping millions and millions of hamburger without going wrong. Each time you've been to McDonald, I don't think I've ever encountered a change in taste. So what he did was, he got this idea from McDonald, and that is what is called, if you want to create world-class thing, then you have to get the best ideas from outside your industry and combine them into new and innovative ways. So what he did was, idea was from McDonald, he intelligently adopted it to eye care, and out comes Arvind Eye Care, which is almost like, sir, you mentioned, like an assembly line. And second, can I just say how you reduced cost? One of our gentlemen here, I think two people said, remove non-value added job. If anyone is familiar with Arvind Eye Care, in the earliest time, the doctor would go to each patient, clean the eye, put the drop, then wait for the eye dilation to happen and then take. When they analyzed it, they found that cleaning the eye, putting the eye drop does not require a value added person. So they got nurses with little qualification to do all that, and only the value added jobs was done by the doctor. So the doctor's time got freed up and he was able to treat more patients. Are you with me on that? Now can you go back and study like the Arvind Eye Care? What are the jobs that you are doing, which is like in equivalent terms, cleaning the eye and putting the drop, which is not essential for you to do. And if you go and look at it, you will find job after job after job that you think is urgent you are doing, which is actually can be done metaphorically by a nurse. Nurses both male and female now, it's just not women, right? So this is the thing. Then of course, you are already aware about Ford. You know where Henry Ford got the idea from of assembly line, anyone? Anyone where Henry Ford got the idea of assembly, which he intelligently adopted to revolutionizing the automobile manufacturing, anyone? May I share that with you? Henry, so you first, what is the trait Henry Ford had which you should have? Is curiosity. Second, you should be obsessed with the problem that is plaguing you. The problem that was plaguing him was that a car took a few days for complete assembly, because of which cost went up. And he wanted to know, how can I reduce the cost? One day, And that is what you have to do. He was visiting a meat packing factory, meat. So in USA, you have this carcass, right, of this animal which is hung on one side, the carcass of an animal. Now what he noticed was, this was the full animal, and there was a table, and there were workers on either side. So this full body would move to one table, this worker would remove some part, then it would move to the another thing, he will remove some part, some part, some part. By that time it reached the end, there was only skeleton left which could not be used. The moment he saw it, he says, Eureka, I found my answer. What they were doing was, they were disassembling it, I will assemble it. So what did he do? Instead of starting from the full thing, he started from here. He started with the skeleton, it moved, it moved, it moved, it moved till a full car came out. So what is the big idea? The big idea is, he took from a meat packing factory, applied it intelligently to the car factory, and out comes assembly line, which has revolutionized manufacturing ever since. I think there is no doubt about it. A simple idea. What is the question? This concept is called creativity, right? So this is what assembly line is. What is creativity? Creativity, and this is the good part, is a learned skill. You can learn it. It is a learned skill which gets activated when traditional thinking, you then just don't look for a solution with an automobile. In your case, and whichever is your manufacturing. So it is learned skill which gets activated when traditional thinking is bypassed, and imagination, someone mentioned imagination during the earlier course of our conversation. When imagination is allowed to freely wander, to import, combine, connect ideas in new and imaginative way to come up with big ideas. This is what is called creativity, right? And this is what I want to ask you. So earlier, there was this question asked in the earlier three things. Innovation. Are we innovative? And the question that I want to ask you is, what is your innovation index of your company? Suppose you are in biotechnology. Look, for the last 20 years, how many innovation has happened? Say 10. How many was your contribution? If it is 0, then you are not a leader, you are a follower. And this is called the innovation index. So can I just ask you to write there what is your innovation index? And you can ask me. It is easy to come and preach here, but have you done innovative things? And I will tell you, yes, in every single industry that I worked in, including alcohol, and I'll share that, I have created innovative products which the world has followed. Deodorant is an example. It's an innovation. No to deo, yes to perfume. I want you to note down, what is the innovation index of your company? Is it high? Is it 0? Is it 1 out of 10, that is 10%, or what? This is very, very, very important. If you are not innovative, I think you are a follower, not a leader, and then you will be perpetually stressed for profit. So be creative. Then comes a concept which is Elon Musk concept. You would be aware, when Elon Musk started Tesla, everybody said he will fail. And you know why everybody said he will fail? Anyone? Why was Elon Musk destined to fail? Sorry? No, but even Tesla is not a car company, it's a technology company. So Tesla is not a car company, it's a technology company. Why was he destined to fail? And the reason was, he was making Tesla into an EV. The cost of electric batteries were very, very high. And as long as the cost of batteries remained high, Tesla would never succeed. And no one had an answer, because for the last 100 years, starting from Henry Ford, so just to tell you, before IC engines were developed, in 1900, electric battery cars used to be running in this world. Why didn't they not become popular? Because EV, electric batteries, were just not cost efficient. So for 100 years, people told Elon Musk, if for 100 years no one has been able to reduce the cost of the battery, then how will you? And that is the question I wish to pose for you. If for the 100 years no one has been able to reduce the cost of electric battery, then what did Elon Musk do to reduce the cost by 80%? Anyone please? And if you can understand that thinking, you can apply that to bring down your cost by 80%. What did he do? those are all technical things. That comes much later. So we are again complicating a simple answer, right? We are increasing complexity. It will add to cost, right? Say that again. But then if you use small existing battery, the cost of the car will become a train, right? It will become a wagon. He went for gigafactory. That came after Tesla succeeded, after he brought down the cost of batteries. Sorry? Not at all, not at all, not at all, not at all, and I just cannot tell you how many times not at all. So please don't ever say that I can reduce the cost only by changing the material. Volume. When he started Tesla, so please again don't get into that classical thing, economies of scale, mera cost kam hoga. I am putting a constraint even for one battery. Aap mere ko batao. One battery is like 10,000 batteries ka bata do mere ko. Oh no, that is a different concept altogether. He is not using it as a self-charging vehicle. That's not the concept here. He challenged the basics. I don't think he challenged the basics of the battery, not at all. Then he would come out with new material and electrodes. Don't complicate. Anyone, one last response? And please, yes sir. We are talking, please answer the question. The answer is very good, that let the battery cost be high, I can't reduce it, I'll reduce at the cost. No. The question is reduce the cost of the battery, constraint. Charging time came much later, sir. So anyone, should I share the thing? So can I just share with you a perspective that I want you to carry home with you, and you will apply it tomorrow morning at your workplace. One of our friends said that he changed the material, he did all this. He did nothing of it. And what he did is in simple terms called first principle thinking. It's called first principle thinking. Can you note it down please? And then let me explain to you what is first principle thinking. What is first principle thinking is a very important thing. What he did was, so this may sound a bit complicated, so let me just share with you. The cost, the cost of a battery was roughly about $800 per kilowatt hour. This was the cost when Elon Musk got into this thing. He had to bring the cost down. So what did he do? He asked a very simple question. The question was, what are the components of an electric battery? What he realized was, it was cobalt, nickel, carbon, some polymer that were separating it, and a steel can. Roughly these are the components. He has not changed the material, he just asked what are the components. Then he looked at an average battery and he weighed how much nickel, how much carbon, how much polymer, how much steel, all that component that went into an existing electric battery. That was what Steve Jobs did. He took that bull and he broke it up into the essence. What has Elon Musk done? He has taken the battery, which is that big bull, broken it up into parts and weighed every part and said, if I buy it from London Commodity Exchange, this will be my cost. Now I buy it from there and I put it intelligently within the cost. The cost fell by 80%. What is the lesson for you? Please take a target of reducing whatever you are working on by 80% and use first principle thinking. And if you have a problem, I can tell you, we've worked for many organizations where we have reduced cost not by 80%, by 85%. So can I request you to do this? Now what are the things that you will do till now? First, you will look at reducing complexity. You would look at process that should not have existed. You would do first principle thinking, and your cost saving, I can tell you, will be in the region of 50 to 60% without in any way compromising on the essence of what you are making, right? So this is basically called first principle thinking. So you would have heard Mr. Neelkanth, the compare saying, I'll be sharing with you 7 principles. But in 21st century, you have to give customers not what you promise, but you have to give customers more than what you promise, right? So I'm going to share with you many more mental models, and then we will have question and answer. So the next mental model that I want to share with you is, this is called thinking through analogy. And you will not think through analogy. What is thinking through analogy in Elon Musk's case? For the last 100 years, electric batteries cost has been high, therefore in the future also the battery cost will be high. That is thinking through analogy. In the past what has happened is what will happen in the future. And this is a thinking that you have to stop today, right now. What has happened, regression analysis will not happen. Given what we have, Industry 4.0, we don't have regression analysis. Now what we have is predictive and anticipatory algorithm. So will you stop thinking through analogy? So you will ask me, did you stop thinking through analogy before telling me? So I'll just share with you. In my industry across, and I am talking of alcohol beverage, in my industry across the world, there was only one way in which alcohol was sold, whether it was Johnnie Walker, Blue Label, Black Label or McDowell or anyone that you would care. Lifestyle advertising. Show a set of young people having a great time and your brand right in the center. Lifestyle advertising. Since I came from an FMCG background into alcohol, I was used to, in FMCG they don't have lifestyle advertising. You have dirty clothes, I have a detergent. So you have dirty clothes, use my detergent and out come clean clothes. Problem, you have a problem, I have a solution and please use me. So I told my boss, sir, let's not use lifestyle advertising, it means nothing to anybody. So he says, what do you mean? I said, sir, in FMCG we have a problem solution approach. Customers have a problem, we give them a solution, so they buy our product. He says, in alcohol, what is the problem people have? They are having a great time. What is the problem people have with alcohol? No problem. What do you people say? Do you think people have problem with alcohol? I'm sure all of you silently or right? What is the problem you people have? Can I share with you some of the problem that used to happen? Now of course, I mean because of your age profile it will still happen. I'm just giving you two problems that people had which we solved and our sales went up. I'm talking of 1990s when there was no live-in relationship and there was no girlfriend. You only had wives, right? And the city was Calcutta. So we wanted to increase sales. So we went to Tolly Club, Saturday Club and asked the drinkers in the bar, what will make you drink more? So these guys look at me and says, we want to drink more. This is 1990. When we come close to our wife, there is havoc. I said, why havoc? When we come close to our wife, there is a smell and there is a fight at home. So you stop that fight and I will drink more, right? Vodka, we launched a vodka that left no trace. You have vodka, there will be no smell and you can get closer to your girlfriend, wife, whoever, right? And the sales went up. And the second problem that happened right in this city, when we spoke to people in bars, what they said is, when we are having your brand, we are having a great time. Then I said, what is your problem? So the guy in Thane said, Thane is a suburb of Mumbai, he says, I'm having a great time in the evening, but I'm concerned about catching that 802 local from Thane. How will I catch that goddamn local? Yaar, kal subah kuch ho jayega morning mein, you know what, hangover. The guy in Bangalore said, I'm having a great evening on MG Road. The problem is, how will I make the presentation to my boss? So what did everybody was having a great evening, concern was for next morning. So what did we do? We launched a whiskey which says good morning after great evening and we sold 500,000 cases in the first year, right? Correct? Yes, and this doesn't require a genius. It sold 500,000 cases in the first year. What is the thing we did not think through analogy? In the past, no one had launched a whiskey as a problem solution. We did it. And this is the thing that I wish you to remember, that you will quit thinking through analogy. If in the past it hasn't happened, it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. You have to be creative and break the rules. So don't think through analogy. Now comes Netflix. You watch it. Children in our families watch it. Why is Netflix so successful? Anyone? Content. Content YouTube also gives. Sorry, sir? Blockbuster film came much later in India.
No, they understand the...
Oh, that algorithm, predictive algorithm, that's not the reason for success of Netflix. That can only hasten the success, but not lead to success. Profile. What profile? Everyone loves Netflix, right? There's no...
Eliminate the
Eliminate the need. Again, sir, who said it, please? Yes, sir. The problem that I still wish to put before you, and this is a general comment. The question is, please don't make statement. You are very, 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 very right. Give me a framework, because if we can put this in a framework, Baba Ramdev has applied this framework to make Dant Kanti into India's largest selling toothpaste. The framework that I am going to use, right? Personalized content. See, there is a difference between customization and personalization. Are you aware? Are you aware? Can I share that with you? Netflix doesn't give you personalized content, it gives you customized content. Can I share the difference? May I share it? Yes. There are three types of product you have. One is called mass, one is called customized, and one is called personalized. McDonald's is a mass product. Whether you are Shah Rukh Khan or me or you will get the same burger. But if you go, which is that thing which serves you sandwiches? Subway. Now what Subway has is, it already has breads, length of bread, type of bread, the fillings, the sauces. That menu is already existing. What you have to do is, you can say, I want French loaf, 6 inches, these filling and this sauce. That is called customization. From the pre-existing menu, you choose, that's customization. Personalization is, like for Dr. Vijay Mallya, if he went to Ritz-Carlton, they will not say choose from the menu, they will say what kind of a sandwich you want. So which is the most expensive? Personalized, right? So Netflix is not about personalization, it's not about, yes sir? Oh no, no, don't reduce it to cheapness, no. Then what you will do is, you will reduce your price to 0 and you think your brand value will go up. No, don't look at price, please. So can I just share with you, and the concept is called value migration. So the gentleman sitting there, what he said was, when I used to watch cricket when I was young, if we had to watch cricket, there was a TV screen, the match started at 9:15, we had to sit in front of the TV screen, we were chained, we were like prisoner, we were chained to the TV screen. If we moved away, we could not see the match. So this was called viewing by appointment. Now what young people want, and now older people like me and you have also got addicted to it, what young people wanted was that we don't want to view by appointment, we don't want to be chained to a chair. What we want is, we want to view anytime, anywhere, on a device of my choice, and while on the move, I want to be entertained. And this is what Netflix did. What did it do? Today, if you see PVR, all these things, what are they doing? They are operating where the value was, which is viewing by appointment. You have to go to a theater, be chained to the chair to see it, and you see what is happening to PVR. Whereas, where the value has migrated is viewing anytime, anywhere, on a device of my choice and while on the move. So Netflix operated where the value was, and PVR, matter of speaking, is operating where the value was. The same is true for you. Can I just share with you? And you ask yourself, where are you operating? So let me just start with, so this concept is called value migration, and the second concept is called second bounce. Please look at this carefully. First is, are you operating where the value was or where the value was migrated? And after, if you are operating where the value was migrated, where will the next bounce be? Where will it next migrate to? So let's start with your thing. Now, as a disclaimer, I'm saying, I'm talking, we are in the midst of Industry 4.0, which is powered by technology. So I'm going to share the Industry 4.0 version. So earlier, it was mechanization, mass production. The value has moved to automation and smart manufacturing, IoT, sensors, real-time data monitoring. This is where the value has migrated. Is this where it has stopped? Anyone? What do you think is the next thing? Next. Where is the manufacturing moving? You're from manufacturing. I'm sorry? Machine learning. Very, very correct. So before machine learning, can I just say on-demand production, which is 3D printing, additive manufacturing. After that, ma'am, what you mentioned, is AI and machine learning. Use predictive maintenance, quality control, and process optimization. After this, what? Sorry? Sorry, please say it again. Sorry, please. Okay, what else? What is the latest That is state of art, which is now actually being taken from space technology, which is getting into manufacturing, and it is now becoming widely prevalent. Robot is fine. Robot is fine. After that, AI we have spoken about. AI we have spoken about. So can I just say that just look at where it is going, right? From mechanization, mass production to automation to on-demand 3D, additive manufacturing, AI, machine learning, advanced robotics, sustainability. And after this, where? Can I just share this? This is called digital twins. Have you heard of digital twins? Have you heard of digital twins? This is where your manufacturing is headed. 5 years from now, no matter which industry you work in, you will be operating in 1, 2 or 3, one of these levels. Now the question that you have to ask yourself is, where are you operating? Are you still operating in mass production, or are you operating in smart manufacturing, or are you operating here? Can anyone, right? Can anyone tell me where are you operating? Where is the value migrated? Are you comfortable with how the value is migrating in manufacturing? Is that some depiction of how the value is migrating? Is that fair depiction? Now I want to ask you a question. Anyone can stand and say, where are you operating on these 5 or 6 levels? On demand, excellent, on demand production, right? On demand. What about others? So now if you are doing on demand production, I'll ask you where the second bounce is. After on demand, where will the manufacturing go? You know those two things. So you have to start preparing for those two things today. Anyone would like to say, like one of our gentlemen said, on demand manufacturing? Anyone else? Migrating towards AI. Now that you are migrating towards AI, you know after AI what you have to prepare for next. What is it? Robotics. So can you just take a minute to close your eyes and ask yourself, where exactly are you operating? Are you operating where the value was or where the value was migrated? If you are operating where the value was, your business is in good chances that it will become redundant. And today you have to take a decision that you have to start migrating towards where the value is migrating, and look at the second bounce. After this, where will it go? That is what is called that you have to be prepared for the future. Future ready is right here, and that concept is called value migration. Now here are 3 questions. We will move to the next one. Here are 3 questions. Can you tell me, so all of you are in manufacturing, you send your goods through containers. How did the idea of container come about? Have you got it, those 50 feet, 40 feet containers, 60 feet, 40 feet? Second, unfortunately it's not the right time to talk of airlines, but I have Deccan Air in mind. How did Captain Gopinath make Deccan Airways profitable? And if you see Dr. Malia's thing, he says it could never become profitable if it was selling at 1 rupee. The fact that Dr. Malia bought it, which means it was profitable. So what did he do to make a LCC, low cost carrier, profitable? Right? And third, we'll leave it out because of shortage of time. So anyone, what led, how was the container designed? Right? You use it every day, you manufacture and put it there. Did you ever think how was it designed? Because in that resides a very important thing which was discussed twice today. Anyone? And this is what you got to do. You got to be curious about things in your industry. Container is there, yaar ye kaise bana? What had led to the development which has changed, much like assembly line? You know how it has changed, right? Anyone? So can I just share the concept with you? Earlier, the entire trading happened via ship before airlines and all came. And what the ship owners realized is, everyone was obsessed with making money. And what the ship owners realized is, we make money only when the ship is on the high seas. We make money when the ships are on the high seas. But what they discovered is, most of the ships were in the dock either unloading cargo or loading cargo. We make money when we are on the high seas, but most of the time our ships were in the dock loading or unloading cargo. So they came out with this audacious question. And the question was, how can we load the ships while they are still in the high seas? how can we load the ships even when they're on the high seas? And the answer was very obvious. Come out with a container which you load it while the sea is on the high ship, then you just put it into the ship. What is the underlying theme of this framework or mental model? If you ask the right question, you get the right answer. Can I take Captain Gopinath? His airline was making loss. He also joined Dr. Vijay Mallya. So I just had a conversation with him and I asked, so Captain, what did you do? So he looked at me, he says, we looked at all the cost and we eliminated all the cost. I said, then what happened? He says, even after eliminating all the cost, we were still not making money. Then I said, then what did you do to make money? After you eliminate all cost, you are still not making money, then what did you do? And you know what his answer was? He says, I converted. I looked at all the cost, I deleted it all, then also a lot amount of cost remained. Then he said, and look at this very carefully, I reframed my question. My new question became, how can I convert my cost into revenue? Have you got this? How can I convert a cost into revenue? So if you travel Deccan, he used to give you chocolates and sweets, that air hostess used to come, that was the cost. He stopped giving it free, he started selling it. And then he asked himself a question, what are the dead assets I have, right? And he realized that I have this whole aircraft outside which is free, which is a dead asset, it's not revenue producing. Why don't I give it for advertising? I have aisle seat which is premium, why don't I charge for it? I have people who want to board first. So he looked at all these elements and started monetizing it, and Deccan Airways became profitable. So what is the underlying theme here? Are two. The underlying two themes are very simple. If you want to become Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, Mr. Ambani, then you have to learn the art of framing the right question. If you frame the right question, you will get the right answer, because Einstein said, he said, if I was given a question or if I was given a problem to solve and my life depended on solving it, if I was given 1 hour to solve a problem and my life depended on solving it, then I would spend 55 minutes in framing the right question. Because if I frame the right question, the answer would be obvious. Now you have to ask yourself a question. When given a problem which your peers bring to you, do you just jump in and start solving it? Or do you take time to actually understand the issue, frame the right question? Because if you spend time in framing the right question, you will get the right answer. So please learn, this is the next one, is the art of framing the right question. And this is very important for you to remember. Don't judge a person. Don't judge a person. Don't judge a person. Don't judge a person by the quality of his answer. Judge a person by the quality of the question they ask. Right? It's not moving forward. Okay. So what I'll do is, it's not moving forward, so I'll take a break here and I will ask you, I have shared about 8 mental models with you. Is there any question that you have for me? Is there anything that you would want me to? Is there any question that you have for me regarding the mental model that I have shared with you? Anything? Any question? I will then yes sir. A bit loudly.
Can you further explain how to ask the right questions? Is there any checklist or is there any kind of framework?
Yes. So the question that you have to ask is almost an impossible thing. How can I load the ship while it is still on the high seas? So the art of framing the right question is always asking a question which is audacious and difficult to answer. And when you pose yourself that question, the answer becomes a bit easier to get. So I will just quickly, I think I have crossed the line. I will just move ahead because I think, how much time do I have? How much time? Sorry? We are beyond time. So, okay. So I will now, what I will do is, I'll just take this last thing. And I will share this example of again of Tata Motors. So Mr. Sumant Mulgaonkar, that's very, very important for me. Mr. Sumant Mulgaonkar, when he was heading Tata Motors, what he did was during lunch break, he would not be present for the lunch in the executive. So people asked, where did he go? He would actually go and visit dhabas and ask the truck drivers, what are they doing, to get feedback. And what he did was, he wanted to get first-hand feedback on performance, comfort, reliability and maintenance challenges that the drivers face. Second, he wanted to learn how the truck were actually used and not just how they were supposed to be used. Like Tata Motors designed it, this is the way you use it, but how is it being actually used? And the third thing was identify design or manufacturing flaws early from the user's perspective. This is what helped him to get first-hand information to make Tata Motors what it eventually has become. And this technically the framework is called the map is not the territory. What is this concept, map is not the territory? You cannot sit in your AC office and plan designs. Mr. Sumant Mulgaonkar was an engineer whose picture was not there, but I think he's made all of us proud, right? He's made all of us proud. So the question that I wish to only tell you is, do you make your plan sitting in your AC cabin? Or how often have you visited? And do you have love for your brand? So I just want to share this. A person working in manufacturing of Honda car in USA was was driving once with his wife. And what he realized was, he stopped the car, he was driving with his wife on a Sunday. He stopped, his wife was sitting in the car, and he crossed the road on the other side. There was a Honda there. The wiper, he corrected it and he put it in the right place. So when he went back, his wife asked him, why did you stop the car? What did you do? He says, I saw Honda there and it was an imperfect Honda because the wiper was not at the right place and I cannot afford to see an imperfect Honda. And he corrected it. And this is where I will close by asking you a very simple question. The simple question is, how often do you visit the market? When you visit the market and your product is not in a good shape, do you feel pain? And do you feel pain when you see your product in an imperfect condition? Right? And the last thing, positively, this is the last thing, I'll not, I think I've short the time, so I will go straight to this part, which is called, okay, the visuals are not required. In 21st century, in Industry 4.0, I have the best way in which is called engaging in a conversation with the dead and alive. With AI there at the center, what I have done is, I have had a conversation with Steve Jobs, I have had conversation with Elon Musk, with Jeff Bezos and all the people I love. I go to my AI and I have that, I can share with you, it's a few slides down. There are these sites available, which is Steve Jobs site. And I ask Steve, and I give him a problem. Steve, what do you think I should do? And Steve Jobs comes and tells me, this is what he would do. I ask Elon Musk the same problem, and he gives me what Elon Musk would suggest. And I take the same problem, I go to the site and I say, Jeff, what would you do? And Jeff gives me the answer. Now, what is this entire thing? I can today, given the power of technology, have the privilege of getting my problem or engage in a discussion with the dead and alive, and that too the best in the world to get me answers. And I have conversation on a regular basis with Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. What is the last lesson that I want you to go away with? The dead and the living are willing to have a conversation with you and give you their perspective, provided you are willing to go and ask them. Are you with me? So with that, I will say, I just want to say thank you for your patient hearing. I hope the mental model that I have shared with you has in some way given you perspective how to go tomorrow and make a difference in your company. Thank you so much for your thing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Any question anyone has? No questions? I hope the Indian manufacturing problems are solved and India is going to, and from less than 1.5%, which is our contribution to the world, I think we will aim to become 10%, which is what one of our earlier colleagues said. If you have no problem, apply this, and I can assure you that the needle will move to not 10% but to 25%. Thank you so much.